Kazakhstan and Spain celebrate their 15th year anniversary of strategic partnership this year. Today, Kazinform interviews Jorge Urbiola, the ambassador of Spain to Kazakhstan. Thank you for agreeing to this interview. And we're going to discuss various topics about our fruitful partnership and the future insights as well.
Rahmet, thanks to you for this kind invitation.
The first question is tied to the anniversary. In your opinion, what are the key avenues of bilateral cooperation between our countries and what are the greatest achievements?
So, being our relation a strategic relation, the main objective is to make it as wide as possible, to touch all different venues, from political to economy to cultural to consular. In this respect, we have had quite a lot of achievements. The first one was the signing of the strategic partnership, which makes our two countries become strategic partners, which is something of no minor importance in international relations. Since then, we have had a lot of milestones. It's, as you probably know, one of the top Spanish companies of railway, Talgo, has been very active in Kazakhstan over the last 20 years. But not only railway transportation. Next fall, the first Airbus A400M, which is one of the most advanced transport carriers in the world, will arrive to Kazakhstan. This is assembled in Spain. And this will be also one of the milestones in our relations. So, in general terms, I would say that our relations, being strategic, tries to touch all different parts of all different sectors that a relation can have.
The majority of Kazakh exports to Spain are hydrocarbons. What steps do the sides take to diversify the exports?
So I think this is something which will come automatically. This is true that for many years the main export of Kazakhstan to Spain was crude oil. As you know, Kazakhstan is one of the main exporters of crude oil. On the other hand, this was creating huge trade deficits between our two countries. But things are improving. More and more Spanish companies are arriving here in quite different sectors. Among them, we can mention something which will benefit this or will try to improve this commercial deficit which favors Kazakhstan is the new factories ready to key turn factories, which Spanish companies will do here. The first, as I mentioned, the first delivery of the A400M. This was also a very important operation in terms of commercial relations. So little by little, this huge deficit that we had around $2.5 billion every year, because Kazakhstan is one of our main supporters of crude oil, is being improved.
Recently, Kazakhstan and Spain expressed their readiness to cooperate in the new field of groundwater exploration. Why is Spain interested in this particular area of cooperation, and how much are you willing to invest in this, if you allow me to ask?
So, sure, that's a very good question, but let me clarify it a little bit. Rather than an interest from our part in collaborating in underwater exploration, it comes from the technology, the advanced technology that a Spanish company has in mapping the subsoil. As you know, Kazakhstan is one of the richest countries in terms of subsoil in the world. But the maps that here in Kazakhstan are still valid comes from the time of the Soviet Union. It's many years ago, and this Spanish company is able to map the whole subsoil, reaching up to 600 meters or even more than a kilometer, depending on the resolution. And this will probably become a game changer for Kazakhstan, because this is the only company in the world which can map with airplanes. Kazakhstan is so big that with helicopters it would be impossible to map the whole subsoil of such a huge country. So there is an interest from the part of the Kazakh government. The former prime minister initiated the agreement with this Spanish company, Excalibur. And now the Minister of Industry is working in this respect. So the interest from the Spanish side is rather to map the whole subsoil in Kazakhstan, and with this information, with all the richness that you have in this country of minerals and also of underwater reservoirs, then we will work together. So that's the reason why this interest comes.
Is this project already implemented?
No, now we are in the part of finding the best financing, and we will probably in the short term find this solution, because this is going to be, as I said, a game changer for Kazakhstan, because if you know the real content of what you have in your subsoil, then this is easier for foreign companies to invest here, because they know exactly what they want, where it can be located, and this will help these huge mining companies to arrive to Kazakhstan.
Are you interested in any particular district or area of Kazakhstan?
No, I think the results of this mapping will best give us which is the richness of raw materials, of minerals, of underwater reservoirs, and then with this information, then things will move on.
From 2012 to 2022, trade turnover between Kazakhstan and Spain increased more than fourfold. The lion's share of trade between countries is occupied, as you already mentioned, by oil and gas industry. In addition, Kazakhstan and Spain can step up their cooperation in water and wastewater management, health and renewable energy. In what other sectors can two nations work well in the future?
So I've been trying to travel as much as possible here in Kazakhstan to the different oblasts, try to analyze what were the needs of foreign investment and what are the strong points of our companies. So over the last 3 years, and little by little, the relations between companies have diversified. As you said, the huge part of the cake comes from crude oil. But now I would say that there are quite a lot of different sectors. Fashion, for example, one of the top retail brands in the world, Inditex and Zara, probably you know this brand, is successfully working in Kazakhstan. They are employing over 1,000 Kazakh local employees and achieving very, very good results. So fashion is one example. As I mentioned before, our railway cooperation in trains has always been very successful. Now we have airport transportation also starting. In health, for example, there is a story of success between one Spanish company, Iberhospitex, which together with a Kazakh local company are creating catheters for surgery, heart surgery, and assembling all the different parts here in Astana, and then delivering it to the rest of Central Asia. We are also working in turnkey projects, as I mentioned, in different industrial sectors. So I would say that even though the numbers, of course, of crude oil are still the highest, then the diversification in many other sectors is little by little gaining ground.
In your opinion, what would be the most beneficial sector to look into right now to diversify cooperation even more?
Yes, so industry offers a lot of possibilities. Kazakhstan is now trying to improve to develop the petrochemical sector. This could be, for example, one sector where collaboration could be very profitable for both sides. But in general, as I said, our objective is to diversify it as much as possible. Okay. Agriculture, I will mention also agriculture. You know, one of the regions in the south east of Spain, called Murcia, is one of the driest, if not the driest, in Europe. And some regions here in Kazakhstan are ranked among the driest also in this part of the world. In Murcia, they have developed a quite advanced technology together with Israel. The region of Murcia, Spain, and in particular this region, has the most advanced technology in irrigation systems, for example. So I am witnessing how Spanish companies in the sector have been called by Kazakh partners in order to see the possibilities for a cooperation in this sector, for example.
You briefly mentioned nature and natural aspects of our countries. As you may know, there have been recently severe floods in Kazakhstan. How did they combat such phenomena in Spain? Mm-hmm.
So I would say that over the last 50 years, Spain has improved a lot in this respect. Several cities in Spain, with combination of the raining seasons in Spain, made some of our cities to suffer severe floods for centuries. I can mention some cities like Valencia or Zaragoza. I would say that the combination of different factors helped Spain now to control severe floodings as the ones that Kazakhstan unfortunately suffered recently. First of all, technology. With technology, we have been able to create underground reservoirs of water, which are able to absorb, when there is an increase of water, this amount of water. Also working in the seabeds of the rivers, cleaning them, and as regards administration, also with a good collaboration at the national level and at the local and regional levels. I think these are the factors which have enabled Spain to successfully confront all these situations.
Is there a possibility for our countries to collaborate on tackling this issue?
For sure. I already know that at the level of the European Union there is a collaboration, but certainly, you know, whenever Kazakhstan will want to find or to know about our expertise, our experience in this respect, we are open. You have, by the way, a very active ambassador in Spain. And I am sure that when the moment comes, we can collaborate also in this respect.
My next question is about a different topic. Starting next year, the tax code will change in Kazakhstan, which is going to affect foreign investors and businesses. What changes will be made to the work of Spanish businesses representatives in Kazakhstan, taking into account these amendments to the tax code?
Well, so far we have been analyzing at the embassy in our economic department, together with some companies, and so far no companies have transmitted us that they will be affected by the changes of the tax code. I think here we need to find a balance. On the one hand, of course, respect for the legal order of the country. This is key, and the Spanish companies have always been fulfilling the legal order of the countries they work in, and Kazakhstan is, of course, no exception. And the other part to find this balance is, of course, always to avoid the retroactivity, which Kazakhstan is, of course, doing. And in this respect, as I said, no Spanish companies have shown worries as regards the modification of the tax code.
As you may know, there have recently been severe floods in Kazakhstan. How do they combat such phenomena in Spain?
Not necessarily.
What is the most attractive about Kazakhstan to the investors, to the Spanish investors, I mean?
So I would say that little by little Spanish companies know more and more about Kazakhstan. Traditionally, Spain companies have been very active in America because we are Spanish-speaking countries, more than 20 Spanish-speaking countries with similar mentalities. So this, of course, facilitates a lot that our huge, not just huge, but also as SMEs, small and medium enterprises, have always been very active in this part of the world. Little by little, Kazakhstan is known to our companies. We have traditional companies like Talgo, I mentioned, but now we have Inditex in fashion, this Excalibur company for mapping the subsoil. Airbus also has been very active in the country, in the health sector. So they know, I think one of the greatest values of your country is the human resources, very educated people, and this of course helps.
Are you able to talk any projects that are upcoming in any of the sectors?
Well, there is a huge one, but this is, they are still negotiating, so this is very...
Maybe you can give a hint?
No, this is too big, to give a hint. Well, we have mentioned, for example, this project of Excalibur, together with the Ministry of Industry and the mining sector. Also in the health sector, this collaboration between Hiber Hospitex and their local partner is increasing. Railway sector, Talgo, is still working very successfully here in Kazakhstan. I traveled to Uralsk. I met, for example, recently the Akim of Uralsk, and in the sector of agriculture, there are some possibilities.
Recently, the capital of Kazakhstan hosted the SCO summit. How do you assess the development of such large-scale organizations as SCO and the United Nations, and what reforms, in your opinion, are necessary for the development of these organizations?
So, as a diplomat, of course, I have to say that when countries, nations, states come to work together, this is always good news. The main example in my case has been the European Union. As you know, the most terrible war which ravaged the world was the Second World War. European countries learned from this devastating experience, and they decided to work together. Difference will always be there, but the best is to sit together and to unite and to try to find always in a constructive manner the solutions to all the problems. So my generation in Europe has grown up without a war, and for us this is of the utmost importance. And international organizations play a pivotal role in this respect. So my first comment regarding your question is of course positive. But on the other hand, we have to try to avoid that creating organizations, creating blocks, does not separate each other. Again, I will tell you the case of the example of Spain. My country is part of several organizations. We have like different souls. On the one hand, the European soul. We are geographically part of Europe. We are part of the European Union. We are very active in the construction of Europe. But on the other hand, we also have this Ibero-American community, the Hispanic community in America. We also have an organization with them. And we are also part of the Mediterranean Sea, which encompasses countries from the south of Europe and from the north of Africa, mainly Arab countries. So we know how important it is to collaborate as different spheres. And Kazakhstan does the same. Kazakhstan is a country which maintains very proactive and very constructive relations with as many countries as possible. You have two very big neighbors. Kazakhstan also maintains good relations with Europe, with United States, with the United Kingdom, now that it's not part of the European Union anymore. So I would say that rather than giving advice, of the internal functioning of one organization, I would say that the most important rationale behind these new structures would be to use them as bridges, but not as a way of division among countries which do not belong to the same organizations. As I mentioned, Spain is an example, but Kazakhstan is also a very good example.
Another important topic is cultural cooperation between our countries. Leonardo da Vinci's painting La Bella Principessa was recently brought to Kazakhstan. Are there plans to bring masterpieces of Spanish painters or other valuable cultural objects of Spain to Kazakhstan as well?
So let me first tell you that as a diplomat, I've always attached a lot of importance to cultural diplomacy. Diplomacy is not just about politics, or about economy, but also about culture, because culture usually unites the peoples, and at the end we are working for the peoples, not just for abstract entities. That's why I've tried to be very active in this respect. Last year, for example, one of the top Spanish painters and a very well-known artist worldwide came here to Kazakhstan, and we organized the embassy together with the Castellev Museum in Almaty and here the National Museum. Very nice exhibits. Of course, he's not 500 years old as Leonardo da Vinci, but we wanted to start by something, let's say, modern. Also, music. Last week, for example,
Solo 2 concert.
Exactly, you know very well. I had the intention of bringing here what probably best represents the soul of Spanish people, which is the flamenco guitar. You have the dombra. So we brought these Spanish artists, but my idea was to go one step forward, and I proposed a dombrist here to come to the stage. The Spanish musicians, of course, agreed and very much liked the idea, and we were able to listen at the Astana Ballet here flamenco music of the famous composer Paco de Lucia, performed by a flamenco guitar, Spanish flamenco guitar, and by a dombra. But the most interesting, as the experience was so successful, that the energy created among the musicians was so deep, that we are going to promote now one album, Kazakh music, flamenco music, and performed by a dombra and by a flamenco guitar. So this is one of the projects that we have in mind. Also, we had a very good collaboration here with the House of Old Manuscripts and Rare Books. Spain, as you know, is a very old country. We have a lot of similar institutions, and they would probably travel to Spain to see the experience, and maybe we will also bring here one old manuscript, but still this is at a very early stage. And as regards bringing a masterpiece of one of our big historical painters, indeed this is something that we would love. As you know, some European countries like Italy, of course, Spain, France, we have a huge heritage. Even our main museum, the Prado Museum, has a program to permit other countries to enjoy some of our masterpieces. I started to have a conversation in this respect with a former director of the National Museum. The budget was high, but then with some changes in the year 22, we stopped these conversations, but maybe in the future.
Are you planning to bring, we talked about the concert, of whirlwind of flamenco guitar and dombra, as I call it. Are you planning to bring it not only to other cities in Kazakhstan, but to Spain as well?
Well, in that case, this would be more the job of my homologue, the Kazakh ambassador to Spain, the one who should try to do this. But I am sure that he will also. And as regards you mentioned the Da Vinci. Precisely last month in Almaty, a gallery which is very active. Sentai is the mall.
Lumiere Hall.
Yes.
Salvador Dali.
Exactly. We organized together, we collaborated with them in organizing an exhibition of Salvador Dali. Salvador Dali, who is the master of surrealism and personally one of my favorite painters, was here. Kazakh people attended the exhibition. It was a huge success, and for me it was a great honor to see how Kazakh people were enjoying with some of the pieces of Salvador Dali.
Culture is also not only about art, but also cuisine and food. Do you have any preferences and your favorites in Kazakh cuisine?
Oh, Kazakh cuisine, of course, I have some nice restaurants which I really love. In fact, when I have visits from abroad, from the Spanish authorities, I try to take them to the Kazakh restaurants and not just to international restaurants. So I would say that, of course, beshpermak is the dish which I tried first day, but I have to say that I love the fish permak. With the fish of the Caspian Sea. I have to say that I like kumys also a lot, very healthy for the lungs. When I arrived here, they explained me that during COVID times, many people were drinking kumys because it helps your lungs to grow stronger. And since I had myself also a very bad COVID, then I tried kumys, and since then I became a fan of kumys.
You briefly mentioned the human potential and human resources of Kazakhstan, because I feel like this is the main aspect of cultural cooperation is people. What can you say about the youth, the collaboration and cooperation of our countries in education?
Education, as you say, is a key factor. I have seen how Kazakh young students, they like also to study abroad. So this new generation of Kazakh people is very educated and with very good professional skills. Recently, some months ago, we had a visit of rectors and representatives of 20 Spanish universities, and they were positively surprised. And we are working on expanding our collaboration among universities.
Are you planning to bring one or a couple more universities to Kazakhstan?
Well, I think we will start. This was the main result of this field trip from Spanish universities, that it is necessary to start little by little, not just by creating, from scratch a whole university. So they are in contact to make programs together with Kazakh universities. We also do have, and I would be very happy, also collaboration in sports. Recently, Atletico de Madrid, you know how football is important for my country. They just opened one academy in Almaty, where this is going to be football, but also education. And we are also working, Real Madrid also has a university, and we are also working to see in the near future also one academy of Real Madrid here, where kids will not only play football, but also study, learn Spanish, because languages is the bridge among countries.
Are there any special projects that are your favorite in cultural exchange of our countries?
Yes, well, taking into consideration two things. The first one, that sports is part of culture, and that Kazakhstan is a country which loves sports, I realized how important work is doing the Bolashak Foundation for disfavored or with needs, young children with needs. So last year, in collaboration with the Bolashak Foundation, we decided for their winter charity ball, which they have every year, that Spanish sports be represented. We decided this, and I got a very good response from some Spanish institutions and sportsmen. So we brought for this auction at the charity ball shirts, t-shirts of Real Madrid and Barcelona signed by all the players. We also were able to get a t-shirt signed by Rafael Nadal and by Carlos Alcaraz, as well as by the Formula One drivers, pilots, Carlos Sainz, who is representing the mythical team of Ferrari, and Fernando Alonso, who has been 2 times world champion. They donated the baseball caps, also signed. And I am so proud because the funds raised were so huge that with this money, the Bolashak Foundation, in collaboration with the Football Federation of Kazakhstan, started last month a project of a national league for kids with autism and with special needs. So I'm very proud that Spanish sportsmen have collaborated in such a project and such an objective.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ambassador, for this interesting and very insightful interview.
Thank you so much. The pleasure and the honor was mine. As you probably know, after 3 years here, I will finish very soon my mandate here. It was really a privilege to be in this country, which will stay always in my heart. And as I tell you, Kazakhstan will be always in my heart. Thank you so much.
Muchas gracias, señor Ambassador.
Rahmet, Rahmet.